am so excited to announce a new company that's launching, Girls Who Sell. Heidi Solomon has over 40 years of sales experience and is here to share her passion with you. When she asked Kayla Matson and myself to help her with this journey, we jumped right in. Heidi, your story in this industry is amazing. Can you share a little bit about your background and why you wanted to create Girls Who Sell?
Thank you so much, Jeanette, for that kind introduction. And I'm really excited to be here today, and even more excited that both Kayla and you are assisting me with the launch of this new organization. As you mentioned, I have been in sales for, oh my gosh, 40 years, if you can believe it, starting in the advertising agency industry and then moving to business process outsourcing for a total of 30 years. And like so many other women, I really fell into sales. I didn't have a specific career path that I was following. I didn't necessarily have a mentor in sales that was encouraging me to follow that course and career path. So I have really, it was about, I don't know, a month and a half ago that I was reading a Harvard Business Review article entitled, Women Are the Future in B2B Sales. And for me, I was like, wait a minute, we're not the future. We are B2B sales. Why are we being positioned as, as the future of this potential very lucrative industry? And so I really started to think about it, and I started to talk to other women and peers and colleagues that were in sales, and I found a very similar story that so many of us did not select sales intentionally. And so I began to do some research, and I started to think about how do we create a pipeline for women in sales? How do we close the gap between men and women in sales? How do we create a mentorship and leadership program to assure that young women have an opportunity to intentionally select this as a career path for themselves? And what the research showed is that today, only 35% of women are in B2B sales roles versus men. I was actually astounded when I saw that statistic, right? And I determined that my passion and my goal in life was to close that gap, right? The second astounding statistic to me is that when you look at leadership roles, so sales leadership roles, only 19% of leadership roles are held by women versus men in sales. Not acceptable, right? And then the third thing, once you began to overlay industry specific, so let's just take technology sales as an example, only 12% of women in sales, there's only 12% women in sales versus our male counterparts. And then on top of that, if you begin to overlay, other types of demographics like women of color, etc., the numbers are even more dismal. And so I decided that I wanted to fix that. And I decided to take a look at, the personality characteristics that make a woman unique in sales, uniquely positioned to be an exceptional sales executive and sales leader. What's interesting, Jeanette and Kayla, is that the statistics also show that women are better in B2B sales than men, than our male counterparts, right? So we're 5% more likely to close a deal, and we have an 11% higher close rate. To me, that's a no-brainer. Companies should be investing in hiring and developing female sales executives. So all of that to say, Girls Who Sell was launched to fix this issue and to bring to get earlier in the cycle, right? So there are a lot of great sales leadership programs out there, but my goal was to work with high school students and college students to have them intentionally select sales as a career opportunity for them, and to give them the training and the mentorship that they need to be successful, in addition to building the pipeline for other corporations that they can hire from.
Well, I can't imagine anyone being better than you. You were one of my very first mentors in coming into the sales world, which I fell into by accident as well. And I am excited to join this journey. Kayla, can you share us a little bit about your background and what made you want to join and help Heidi and make her vision come to life?
Yeah, of course. So I'm super excited to be a part of this. I actually met Heidi when we were both speaking on a panel at a networking event. So the power of networking is very strong. And actually, despite having been on several preparation calls together, it wasn't until the actual day of the event that she announced this initiative and this organization. And after the event, I called her right away and said, what is this? This sounds fantastic. I'd love to be a part of it. Is there any way I can help you? And so here I am today on the advisory board with you and Heidi to see how we can make this happen. And my personal experience is very similar. So I think we all share profiles and the story of like accidentally becoming a sales professional and a leadership role. So I originally started working in a business development team in 2010. I was an assistant to the department. I naturally took on a lot of roles in negotiation and helping with, international clients. And I had a lot of misconceptions about what sales was, and so I thought you had to be like a sleazy, car salesman. And once I actually started negotiating my own deals and my own projects, I realized that the ability to create relationships and build trust through my empathy was one of my superpowers, as Heidi calls them. And this helps me to thrive and grow in a sales leadership role. And so I moved then to a later company where I was working directly in business development. I was promoted to director, and I've helped grow a team here in Madrid, Spain. So here we are.
Awesome.
What an amazing journey.
I know. And I think it's so amazing. And I love how Heidi calls our superpowers, right? So I never imagined a role in sales. And I wish I would have. If we had something like this that's Heidi's developing younger in my career, I think being a really young mom and starting out and working full time and going to school full time, it would have created a better advantage in my life and my kids' life. But I didn't know. I didn't know. And it wasn't until much later in my career when someone purely suggested, I think you should do sales. And I was like, really? I'm not that. I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer. That's what I am. I go in, I fix things. I think of things that no one thinks of. And because I ask a lot of questions, and I was like, that's not sales, but it is sales. And I love Heidi's vision to really, really bring that out. So with that being said, Heidi, how are you wanting to impact the industry in B2B sales with Girls Who Sell?
Yeah. So just first of all, I want you to know that y'all just gave me double goosebumps, right? Because you are the poster, children for, when I envision, a successful, Girls Who Sell graduate, what I would hope them to become. So yeah, it's just makes me so happy. I want to touch on, before we move, Jeanette, to that question, I just want to touch on something that you two shared and that I hear over and over again in the interviews that I've done with hundreds of women, right, who have been in sales roles. And it's the whole concept of, I'm really not cut out to be in sales, right? And the whole misperception about what you need to be as a person to be a successful sales or business development executive or future B2B leader. And I really do believe that that whole used car salesman type of image is what women think of. And to your point, it's like, well, that's not me, right? Like, so no, I can't be successful. But women have the innate skills. We're empathetic. We're good listeners. We have strong relationship building skills. We are, analytical. We're problem solvers. There's so many personality traits that are innate to women. And as I started to look at that and think about that, those are also the traits that that can be leveraged as your superpower to be successful in a sales career. So, Jeanette, I know you and I have worked together for many, many years. And, I've heard you say before, right? Well, I'm a teacher and I'm a problem solver. And actually I am, I am shy, right? Like, I don't feel comfortable in front of, clients or, talking in front of audiences and being able to take that and transform that into what makes you so incredibly successful at what you do is really my vision. So what we want to do is create a training program, right, that includes not only training the basic skills and sales skills and giving prospective sales executive the tools to be successful in sales, right? So that will be packaged and provided through a couple of different training programs. But it's also really identifying your individual and unique skill set that can be utilized to make you a successful sales leader. And so a lot of the workshops and masterminds and things that, that we're creating, webinars and things that we're creating for Girls Who Sell will focus on identifying your superpower and how to utilize your unique traits to have a successful career. The other thing that's really important to me, and I think the pandemic has really highlighted this, is that women have been exponentially impacted by this pandemic. When you look at the numbers, so many more women have left the workforce versus our male counterparts. And that's because despite the women's movement and all the progress that we've made, we still have a long way to go in achieving equity. And I think sales provides that flexibility, particularly now, in being able to work in a B2B sales environment and do it remotely. So you don't necessarily have to be a road warrior. And that's another misconception, right? That that you're going to be traveling and on the road, 75% of your time. That's not necessarily, that there are some jobs that you have to do that, but not all of them. And I think as we reinvent ourselves, given the pandemic, that has certainly changed. The other really important thing is providing financial freedom. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason why sales executives are the highest paid people in a job and often, in a company, and often make more than the CEO. it's not because it's an easy job. Sales is hard. Sales is super, it's super hard. So I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people that getting into sales is necessarily an easy career choice, but it's lucrative. And so the goal of Girls Who Sell is to also provide women with that kind of financial access and financial flexibility, and give them, that women can control our destinies, right? Our career destinies and our financial destinies, and have that kind of independence. And so that's one thing. And then the last thing is, I'm creating a national, could be global at some point if my vision comes true, but trainer network. So we will be creating the Girls Who Sell curriculum and all the different types of programs that we'll be rolling out for corporations and for high schools and for colleges. But then we'll be licensing that curriculum to other women who may not necessarily want to be in a sales career, but they want to be a sales trainer. And so they will be able to become a certified Girls Who Sell trainer, which also provides career opportunities and opportunities for financial freedom. So hopefully I did two things. I answered your question, but also, I really think it's important to focus on this whole aspect of, let's just squash all these misconceptions about sales for once and for all, and reposition it as a really awesome career opportunity for women.
I think it's amazing. Putting some structure around these things is something that I've never seen, especially for women. I know when I came into this later in my career, there was even misconceptions about my male counterparts that would be like, well, you should do this. And they wanted to give me a ton of advice, which was awesome. I'm always open for advice. But when they did it, it was not with an approach that I was comfortable with. So then it intimidated me even more. I'm thinking, oh, did I make the wrong choice? And luckily I had women like you, Heidi, in my life, and other women who are like, no, you have everything you need. These are your superpowers, like you called them, Heidi. This is what you use to your advantage. You're not a man, don't be a man. And I love that. I love that.
And I agree. I think that creating role models and, just knowledge about these misconceptions and being able to see women, I never really knew any women salespeople. And even when I started in my career, there weren't a lot of women sales leaders in my own company or around me. So it was hard to, as you said, Jeanette, to see that path. And I totally agree as well, Heidi, that I think there's a lack of knowledge or information, at least it was my case, and I'm a younger generation, of all of the possibilities of financial freedom and independence if you are successful in sales. So, if I had known that too, and you're willing to work hard, the upside can be really big. So, I think that's also interesting to share, not only the misconceptions, but what are the positive sides as well.
Yeah.
And Kayla, do you see...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I think Heidi and Kayla, do you really see businesses starting to invest in women executives? Or Heidi, are you hoping to push that as well?
Well, I think there has been a pivot. Particularly, in this last year. On top of a pandemic, we've had a lot of focus on diversity, inclusion, equity, racial justice. And, I don't know about you guys, but from my perspective, I feel as though the world is transforming. And I saw a recent stat on, and I may get it wrong, but I saw a recent stat that somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% of companies this year, and it may even be a little higher, had diversity, equity, and inclusion on their as a part of their specific corporate objectives and as discussion points for their board of directors, right? And so I do think that companies are more aware, especially Kayla, you mentioned you're a bit of a younger generation, the millennials and Gen Zers, that are coming up the pipeline. Diversity, inclusion, and equity are super important to them, and they're evaluating companies based on an organization's commitment to those things. So, are we there yet? No. I mean, we have a long way to go, but I do think that it's positive. And so, there's been a lot of articles today. If you look at women, over this past year, that have been promoted into C-level executive positions, including, women of color, which is phenomenal, right? I love.
And you mentioned, Heidi, too, one of the things we talked about was how working in sales and business development also positions women to get into the C-suite and higher leadership roles. So, in terms of women, that there's more discussions on women on boards and women's in the C-suite, and how do you do that? And a lot of times people who end up in the C-suite come from sales or business development because of the overarching vision and strategy, that you see from that role. And so I loved when you talked about that too, and how that will be a huge part of breaking the barrier or the glass ceiling for women who are looking for
I love that. You're 100% right. So when you look at the career trajectory of a lot of women that have gone into leadership roles and have ultimately ended up in, CEO or COO or even HR positions and those kinds of positions, they have worked their way up from the sales role, because sales is a great way to learn everything about an organization, right? And so you're 100% correct, Kayla. Sales is definitely a strong career path to get to C-level leadership. It's also, when you look at some of the stats around entrepreneurship, a lot of women, and this is another area, Jeanette, that's really exploding this year as women have moved out of corporate. So they've started to, realize that there's life after corporate and move from corporate positions because they've had to move home, right, for a variety of different reasons. But they've stepped into, we're really into the gig economy. We're really looking at, a lot of women who are opening up businesses, solopreneurs, and those kinds of things. And sales is absolutely 100% jumping board to entrepreneurship as well. And then the third thing I would say is we're always selling. So even if you go through Girls Who Sell and you maybe decide that a traditional B2B sales role isn't necessarily your ultimate career path, you will use those sales skills that you gain as a part of these training programs your entire career, right? Because you're selling yourself, you're selling, to clients. I don't know about you, but I got 3 kids. I'm selling to my kids to get them to do, to get them to do what I want. So sales,
your ideas, your projects, your
projects, so you're always,
exactly.
Sales is always something, a skill that you can use in your life.
100%.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So we can visit GirlzWhoSell.com. It's up and running. That's very exciting. But what about if a company or a young woman wants to reach out to you? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, I think going to the website, www.girlzwhosell.com is the best way. You can learn more about the programs. You can get information about enrolling different programs. If you think your school or is might be interested in participating, whether it's, high school or college, definitely reach out or pass the information on to some others. And if you're interested in perhaps becoming a trainer, we're going to be recruiting for trainers very soon as well. So definitely the website, there's a form there and it'll come directly to me, and we will respond.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to do this journey with you ladies. I think this is going to be so fun and impacting the future generations, and sharing our struggles and our wonderful outcomes as well. So it's nice to see you guys again.
Yay!
Looking forward to
for
it.
having me.
Can't wait.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.